Good morning, good morning, good morning. As you come in this morning, go ahead and grab whatever it is that you are drinking. Grab your journals, grab your ink pen. Say good morning so that we know that you are here, whether you are with us this morning on YouTube or either Facebook Live. We would like to know who is here with us this morning. We will be starting right at 9 o'clock. We are excited to be here with our very first Her Peace of Mind talk show of 2025. And truly, we are glad to be back. We are glad to be back. Good morning, good morning, good morning. Say good morning when you come in, and do us a favor and like and share. Share with others who you think that this will be beneficial to. I promise you that it is going to be great. It is going to be some awesome content. Good morning, good morning. Just a couple more minutes, and we will be starting. Good morning, good morning, good morning. Truly, we are grateful for you all joining us this morning for the very first Her Peace of Mind talk show of 2025. I want you to know that I am so excited that you have decided to join us this morning. Good morning, Sister Marzetta. Good morning, Sister Miriam. And good morning, Reverend Harris. Truly, we are grateful for you all joining us here this morning. If you have not grabbed whatever it is that you are drinking, coffee, tea, your water, your orange juice, yes, my sister, whatever it is that you are drinking, go ahead and grab it. Grab your journals. I promise you that you do not want to miss any of this on today. We are live on Facebook as well as YouTube, and we can see your comments from either location as we go along. I wanted to make sure that I let you know that. But please let us know when you join us. say good morning so that we will know that you are here. Again, welcome. So, this is the Her Peace of Mind talk show. If you've been following me for a long time, you know that I did this often. Life happens. I started school, I started on my doctorate, and in 2024, I was not able to keep up. Can I tell you that it is okay to take a pause sometimes, right? But I am back. I am back. Can somebody type in the chat? I am back. And so
Amen.
I am, many call me pastor, but I am also a coach. And so I am Coach Sandara Williams. I am the CEO of Her Peace LLC, which is an organization that is trying to assist as many women as possible to reset their peace. Actually, we as women, we go through so much in life. And sometimes we can feel like our peace has been stripped from us. And sometimes we allow it to take over us for long periods of time. But it is my goal and my effort to assist as many women as possible to know that you can reset your peace. And not only can you reset it, but you can reset it faster. And so, what better way for me to start back this year of 2025? I couldn't think of, oh my goodness, a more capable and able person other than my good friend and my sister, Reverend Dr. Shalita Mira, who is an awesome woman of God. I mean, an awesome anointed woman of God. She is a licensed therapist and she is gifted, gifted, gifted. And therefore, she is joining me as my guest this morning for us to come back for the Her Peace of Mind talk show. Dr. Shalita, share with our viewers and listeners this morning just a little bit about yourself before we dive in.
All right. Good morning to each of you. Thank you, my sister, for this invitation as you begin to reset in her peace, doing the work that God has called you. I am Reverend Dr. Shalita Mira. I am a licensed clinical social worker, a psychologist, most importantly, a child of God, married mom of two beautiful daughters, and I am absolutely passionate about partnering with those to whom God entrusts to me as we matriculate on this heart-centered journey, because that is exactly what life is. It is a journey of the heart. And when we learn how important it is to live a life of intention, a life of stewardship, then I believe we transition from just living to actually thriving and experiencing the life that God has for each and every one of us. So I'm delighted to be here with you in January of 2025 as we embark upon resetting her peace.
Yes, 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 yes. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. And thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule. You are a busy woman. A busy woman recognizes another busy woman. But I am so appreciative that you would take time out of your busy schedule to join me this morning. Listen, before we dive in, I see that we have 12 of you. I'm going to ask that you will hit the share button, share it. Even if you are on YouTube, you are able to share the link. I promise you, if there is anybody, any sister that you care about, I promise you, don't keep it for yourself. In 2025, we got to stop doing that. Be okay with sharing it. It is okay. It is okay. So, as we begin this new year, becoming a new you, setting intentional goals for 2025. Today, we are going to talk about setting those intentional goals and talking about how important it is to set those goals for personal growth. And not just setting those goals for personal growth, but also breaking limiting beliefs and steps of how to break those limiting beliefs. Personal growth is essential because it impacts every area of our lives, our relationships, our careers, our health, our spiritual well being. It's not just about becoming a better version of yourself, but it is also about being positioned to fulfill your purpose. And while you are fulfilling your purpose, for you to positively impact others. Notice what I said, positively. When you take the time to reset her peace, when you take the time to work on those areas, it may be tough at times, but when you take the time to work on those areas to reset your peace, I just want you to know that it is so very beneficial. Dr. Shalita, can you talk to us this morning about why setting goals is so important for personal growth?
It's almost like when you are setting out on a journey to a new destination or location. When we get on the interstate, say we're going to Washington State for the first time, we have no idea how to get there if we've never been there before. And the worst thing we can do is to plan or plot a course and not have invested the time in mapping out how we get there efficiently, effectively, and to make sure that we don't find ourselves detoured. The issue sometimes with beginning or setting a new goal, for example, is we identify, oh, this is where I want to be, but we don't understand that that is only one part of the process, because we have to then look at that goal, but then how do we set objectives? What about micro habits? What about daily rhythms and routines? Those are the most essential to helping us to get to the end goal, right? To achieve that destination or that purpose. So we do need a goal, but we really need to invest the time in saying, okay, if this is my goal, if this is my trajectory, how am I going to achieve or get to the destination in the timing that God is calling me to arrive?
That's good. That's good. That's good. And so many people at the beginning of the year, so many people set New Year's resolutions. And I don't know about you, but I don't set New Year's resolutions. I just don't. For one reason, they don't stick. And it doesn't become real for me to set a New Year's resolution. But what becomes real for me is to set intentional goals. Because when you set an intentional goal, you are more apt to be intentional about doing it. And I feel like that's where we get lost at the very beginning of the year. You have many at the beginning of the year. Soon as the new year comes in, they set out and say, I'm going to do this, and this. But have you stopped? Have you prayed? Have you asked God for direction in the new year? Has God answered you? Or have you just made your own decisions? Can you talk to us a little bit about that?
I submit that the issue is a little more complex than that. Because when we take the term growth, there has been an error in how we've defined the word growth. We see growth in a very distorted paradigm because growth requires a deep introspection. It requires knowing the self. And so most people go into a new year and they're like, I want to set these resolutions. I want to set these commitments, but have not really engaged in the process of self-reflection to see, who am I? Is this really who God has called and created me to be? What is my motive for even setting this goal and intention? And the reason why we have to ask ourselves these questions is because oftentimes we are creating goals that are steeped in people pleasing.
Oh, wow.
And we are burnt out because when we really examine the motive of why we're doing what we're doing, it is really not to be seen by God. It is to be seen and praised by people. So we're going to talk about goals, right? If we're going to talk about why we're doing what we're doing, it really boils down to we're setting these unrealistic expectations and we are trying to force ourselves to become who God has not called, nor commissioned, nor created us to be.
Woo, you said a mouthful. But listen, I want to go to the piece about people pleasing. Wanting people to see us, wanting people to like us, wanting people to affirm us, wanting people to celebrate us, wanting the approval of people. And people can't approve you. People can't affirm you.
That's right.
And I can talk about this because, let me be honest, I was there. It meant a lot for people to say nice things to me, or to affirm me, or to say, Pastor, you did a good job, or Coach Sandara, you did an awesome job. Until one day I was like, but what they say has no comparison until how God feels about me.
That's right.
Now I can hear all of this from all these people, but if God is not pleased with me, I'm concerned about the wrong thing.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I'll submit that we're conditioned to be addicted to the voice of others.
Oh, that's good.
I'm going to say that again. We are conditioned to be addicted to the voice of others. Why do I say that? Think about our society. Think about our culture. We're always looking for that validation. One of the things that I talk about with my clients in therapy sessions is this continuum of the building of self-image. And what I share to them is when you are looking to reshape and refine your self-image, how you see yourself, the first building block of that is the foundation or formation. That is God and God alone. What does God say about you? What has God communicated to you about yourself? What has God allowed around you for you to experience, right? That informs your self-image. And then when we move from foundation, then we go into affirmation. But the first step of affirmation is making sure that you are repeating over yourself what God has said, right? And so affirmation then becomes my voice mixed with God's voice, affirming over my life, because life and death lie in the power of the tongue. Our words have creative power. So my affirmation then should be first what God has said about me, my formation, reciting that over myself, and then I'm becoming. And then the next step is I got to look around me and say, okay, Lord, whom have you brought into my life that I can entrust validation?
Amen.
The validating voice, right? And so oftentimes here's where we err. We have too many voices in our lives that we have entrusted with validating power who do not deserve it, or we make an idol out of voices. And what we do is we take the validators in our lives, who should be people that we love, that we trust, that are honest with us, that are life-giving in their words and in their actions. Those should be our validators. I submit to you that they're not. But what we do is we take the validators and we actually give them formation power. They are not your God. They do not have the ability to speak, should not have the ability to speak over your life in a way that fully transforms or changes you. Now, I'm not saying that their voice cannot impact a choice or a thought, but my goodness, when I'm doing therapy, I realize how important a parent's voice has become, or a friend's voice, or a spouse's voice. And I'm not saying that they should not be important, but they should not have formation power.
My. Mm,
And
that's
so
good.
and so then, if I could just finish the continuum so everybody
Yes,
can kind of
go
see
ahead.
where I'm going. So when you have healthy validators in your life, what happens then is we get to the phase of confirmation.
Mm,
Now, the voice of God shows up in every layer. And so we have formation, affirmation. There should be revelation before we get to validation. And the revelation is of God saying, okay, this person I'm bringing them into your life. No, this person you need to watch out for. This person is a distraction. This one is a roadblock, right? This situation or this goal is not from me. And so revelation shows up in every phase of the process, but God will draw in your validators. And then what happens in all of the voices combined is the confirmation.
my. Woo! Take a deep breath. Woo!
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
We got to allow that to sink in.
Yeah.
She said a lot right there.
Mm-hmm.
She said a lot right there.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. So, with that, we should truly see people pleasing differently. Now, we all know that we're all guilty
Yes.
because we're all human. And the human side of us, love to receive those affirmations, confirmations, validations. But as we begin this new year, not just this new year, but this new season,
Yes.
we must apply what Dr. Shalita just shared with us. I wanted to pause and slow down for us to take that all in. Because for some of us, we're asking ourselves the question, oh my,
Yeah.
I heard her. How do I do that?
Right.
And let me say that you may not be able to do it alone.
Right.
That's where a therapist, a mentor, a coach, you may not be able to do it alone because you've been doing that, not just doing it. Thank you, Holy Ghost. You've been practicing that so long until you feel like it is normal.
Yes.
Thank you so much for sharing that, Dr. Shalita. So I want to go to how setting intentional goals helps us to reach not just our potential, but helps us reach our full potential.
Okay. When we sit in the space of deep introspection, to listen to God, to explore ourselves, to be radically honest about the areas where we are called to go, the destinations we are called to reach, it cultivates this intimacy that is life transforming. It's reconnecting you with God. It's reconnecting you with yourself. And it shifts your perception. And it allows you to see yourself in a way that you've never seen yourself before. So when you sit down and you're putting pen to paper, you were writing the vision and making it plain, but there's something also happening in your mind. And we call that visualization. And visualization allows you to see yourself at this destination before your arrival. And that releases serotonin and oxytocin and dopamine. It just releases some real feel-good hormones in your being. And that then drives motivation. But the impact that that has on self-esteem and self-image, to maybe then see yourself in a way that nobody has ever seen you before. One of the things that really has impacted my life. So my grandpa, who's been my guy my whole life, passed away this year. And I remember his validating voice saying to me, he would say, "My baby, I never would have thought that you would be the woman that you are today. And I'm so proud of you." I'm going to be honest with you. There was a time in my life where I didn't see myself where I am. But I remember when I sat down and I became serious about stewarding my life. And I realized how valuable I am because God chose to create me. That let me not just haphazardly put something on paper. I'm just not haphazardly creating resolutions. So for those in the audience today, you are valuable. Wow. You are powerful. You are made in the image of God. So don't approach setting intentions and goals as just another thing to do. God has given you the ability to steward and craft your life. What an honor.
That's good. That's good. That's good.
Yeah.
That's another take a breath and allow that to sink in.
Yeah.
Do we really know that we are valuable?
Yeah.
And we're valuable because of who God created us to be, who God designed us to be, that we are designers original.
Yes.
There is no carbon copy of us.
We are plan A. We are it.
Yes. And when we realize that we are God's original, that we cannot be copied, that we cannot be duplicated, I don't care that someone tries to do what you do,
right,
or somebody tries to be like you or imitate you. Listen, at the end of the day, they'll never be able to do it, right, because God only created one you.
Right.
And I don't know about you, but I can't be duplicated.
Right.
Because God created me and designed me to be original. Come on, type that in the chat. I cannot be duplicated. Is there anybody that really knows that you are valuable? You're valuable because of what God did. Has nothing to do with you, but everything to do with God.
Let me insert this. Let me insert this right here. We have a work to do, but we have nothing to prove.
My.
We have a work to do, but nothing to prove. Why? Because you were approved the moment that God allowed you to be knit together in your mother's womb. We have a work to do, but we are too busy running around here trying to prove we're good enough, trying to prove our worth, trying to prove we're valuable. Don't waste your time trying to prove, because those whom God is bringing in your life already see your value. You don't have to
Woo!
prove it.
Oh, that's good. Oh my goodness. You about to make me jump up out of this chair. Woo!
Yeah,
Nothing to prove.
nothing to prove.
Nothing. We got to get that. We got to truly realize that.
Yeah.
Woo! That was good, Dr. Shalita.
Mm-hmm.
That was good. All right. So now I want to go to talking about overcoming obstacles
Mm-hmm.
that distract us and that causes us to feel like, even when we set these intentional goals, that things come up or things get in our way and cause us to feel like we cannot achieve those personal goals. So talk to us about overcoming obstacles that get in our way, be it things, be it people, be it our busy lives. Talk to us about overcoming obstacles.
So I'm going to explore this from a biological perspective as well as kind of a philosophical perspective, just so that we understand. And the reason why I want to look at it from a biological perspective is because there's some things that happen in the brain that if we don't understand that, we will believe that there's something that I am doing that is leading to the paralysis. So whenever we set a goal or we have something that we want to achieve, and we have sat down and we have kind of mapped out this plan toward achievement, obstacles are sure to come. Please know that obstacles are sure to come, because growth only happens when we defy the obstacle. If there is no obstacle, there is no growth. Please know that. So in this process, you have to see that. And so when the obstacle comes, there is two ways that we perceive it. We perceive the obstacle, one, as something for us to learn. We see it, we strategize, we're creating a plan to overcome it, or we see it as something to stop us or defeat us or cause us to fail. Failure, in the way that we define it for ourselves now, is another distortion. Failure has nothing to do with your character. Failure just simply means that the way you've done a thing is not working. We need to try it differently. Or we need to go back to the throne of grace and say, Lord, is this obstacle that's trying to block me or stop me or cause me to fail, that is attacking my self-image, is this there for a reason? So either way it goes, it's a pivot point. It's a moment of reflection, of introspection, of evaluation, and recalibration. We got to get around whatever this obstacle is. So our perception then determines what happens in the brain. If I see this from a fear-based paradigm, remember the frontal lobe, and I should have grabbed my brain from up there, but I don't have it, and it's okay. But we have our frontal lobe. So the front part of our brain, the biggest part of our brain, is for executive functioning. So executive functioning, emotional processing, all of that happens in the front, kind of the midbrain. The anxious brain, the amygdala, the hypothalamus, is in the base of the brain. And we hear people say things like lower level thinking. So the base of our brain only knows how to do three things. You're going to fight, you're going to flee, you're going to freeze, right? So if you look at the obstacle and it triggers fear, this part of your brain that you need for decision making, for emotional regulation, for exploration of how you feel, it turns off. Or it is so low that now you can't even think through the obstacle. You can't even really see this obstacle for what it is. You see it as a crisis. So now you're either going to fight it, you're going to run from it, which is where procrastination and paralyzation and brain fog and all of that comes, or you're going to freeze. You're going to do one of those three things. So that's what happens biologically. And so I say that because sometimes you're like, I've been working at this goal and working at this goal and working at this goal. And every time I try, I procrastinate. I'm distracted. My thinking is all over the place. We have to go back and say, how do I see this goal? Is this goal intimidating me? Am I afraid? God has not given us a spirit of fear, but a power, executive center, of love, executive and emotional center, right? And a sound mind, right? The basal part of our brain, the amygdala, the hypothalamus, all of that, it has its responsibility, but its responsibility is connected to emergency and crises and self-preservation. When you're setting goals, we're not doing any of that. It's not a crisis.
Come on.
We're planning. We're not at self-preservation. We're talking about power. And so we have to shift the way we see an obstacle. That is a growth moment. Sure, it's going to have you see things differently than the way you've seen them before. It's going to cause you to think outside the box and maybe step out of your comfort zone. But it's okay because you're built for this. You're equipped for this. That's where the affirmations come in. When you look at that obstacle and you say, God brought this to me. This is what I'm supposed to achieve in the earth. Everything I need, I have access to. I'm overcoming this obstacle. I got it. I can do this. Yeah.
Oh, that's good.
Mm-hmm.
That's good. That's good. That's good. Talk about, you mentioned it shifts, but talk about the mindset shift, shifting the mindset, not to see obstacles negatively. You talked about it a little bit, but can you give us some examples of shifting the mindset?
So at the Her Peace retreat that we did last year and had a phenomenal time, one of the things that we did, and I don't know if you remember this or not, is we did a thinking traps or cognitive distortion assessment. We have to first know and be honest about our thinking traps. And those thinking traps are going to be different for different individuals. There's about 10 to 12 of them, according to the research. And for example, one of the thinking traps could be personalization. I take things personal that have nothing to do with me, magnifying or minimizing something, having all or nothing thinking. So we really need to know our thinking traps. Because when we know our thinking traps, then we're aware of them. So when they show up as an intrusive thought, we then use cognitive thought stopping, which is where we realize that I can't think one thing and say the opposite or say something at the same time. The way God created the brain-mouth connection is it is hard for me to think a negative thought about myself, but then be affirming myself at the same time. So one has to yield to the other. So whenever we see that we're having this thinking or we're in a thinking trap, we then go back to those foundational scriptures, right? And the affirmations, and we talk to ourselves. No, I can do all things through Christ who gives me strength. God would not have called me to this if I were not equipped for this, right? So we shift our thinking through how we speak to ourselves.
That's good. That's good.
We have to begin to check our mouth, and We shift our thinking by checking the voices around us. I've been in conversations where people have violated boundaries. You don't get to say any and everything to me. And I can't control your mouth, but you know what? They'll look around and I'll have walked off. I will be gone. And then I absolutely am walking off from you. You know why? Because you don't get permission to use your voice in that way in my life, because I understand the power of voice. So we got to be careful about the voices that are interjecting or sowing seeds into our lives. Those are just some of the beginnings of shifting our thoughts. We gotta move beyond those thinking traps, both internally and externally.
That's good. That's good. That's good. Come on, y'all give some hearts, some likes. I know. Listen. She is dropping the nuggets. She is dropping the nuggets. That was so good. Come on. Did any of this resonate with anybody? Did it resonate with anybody? Has anything that she said resonate with anybody? Yes. I see some of you type yes. Definitely. Yes. So, Dr. Shalita, how do we overcome doubting ourselves when we set the intentional goals? How do we overcome self-doubt?
Never set a goal that you don't believe that you can achieve.
Mama.
Never set a goal for yourself that you don't believe that you can achieve. If God has you to write a goal for yourself and you are struggling with believing, you're struggling with faith, that is your work for that season. God, help me increase my faith. Help me to see myself the way that you see me. So we have to be honest with ourselves. But when we then can see ourselves achieving that goal, and we've set measurable objectives and a plan, we know that obstacles are going to come. A part of it is also setting commitments. And this is, and I know we'll talk about this probably in a moment, but this is where daily rhythms and daily routines come into place. Because what often happens is we let one little setback or one bad day or one piece of negative feedback or one thought, we let it derail our entire plan. We have to know that those moments of doubt are going to come, but let them be moments. They're a moment. 1 second. I tell my clients, don't let it have more than 5 seconds of your attention, because anything beyond 5 seconds will turn a moment into a movement.
Slow down right there. Ooh.
Yeah.
You said that it can turn a moment into a movement. Y'all, I need y'all to type that in the screen. I'm trying to type this stuff so I can keep up with it, but she said something. She said that a moment, a single moment, we can turn it into a movement. What she's saying is that we can let a single moment get us totally off track.
Yes.
Force us to go in a totally different direction. Change our mindset. Change our focus. That we can be positive, but in a moment, we can turn negative.
Absolutely.
Negative in our actions, negative in our responses, negative. That was deep right there. Now, you done said a lot of good stuff, but that right there, when you said that a moment can turn into a movement,
Yes.
I don't know about you, but I'm not trying to allow a single moment to distract me, a single moment to cause me to get off course. Woo, that was good. That blessed me.
Amen.
A lot has blessed me, but that right there, that blessed me. And I'm going to hold on to that. And I don't know about you all, those of you who are watching, or even those of you who will watch the replay, be reminded today not to allow a moment to become a movement. Come on, y'all clap, hit them hearts, hit them likes, because that was good right there. That was awesome, 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 awesome.
Or take the inverse, right? We can use that same analogy and we can invert it. Be intentional about your moments, your moments, because life is made of moments, right? And whatever your movement is, let it be for the glory of God. Let it be for the edification of your soul, right? Be intentional about every moment. Don't allow a negative moment to derail your course. Take that moment, say, okay, what do I need to glean from this moment? What do I need to shift in this moment so that I can get back on track or pivot? And that is the things when we're intentional about life, we make every moment count. Because when I look back over my life, I realize that my life is built up of moments. And I want them to be good moments. I want them to be adaptive moments. I want them to be life-giving moments. I want them to be healing moments. I want them to be joy-filled moments. The issue is when you look back over your life and all you see is negativity, that tells me that you have allowed moments of negativity to move your mind, to move your heart, to move your soul. You're moving in the wrong direction.
Woo! 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 Come on. Take a deep breath. I know she's stepping and walking on all our toes. Come on. Take a deep breath. Take it all in. Take it all in. Receive it. Receive it, and just know that you about to shift. You about to shift it all. Why? Because in this new season, you're doing what? You are setting intentional goals. Come on, has she helped anybody? Has she helped anybody? I know she might have walked on your shoes, stepped on your toes. She might have walked on your bad shoes. She might have walked all over them. She may have walked down your street. She may have walked in your house, opened up the door to every bedroom. I know. But that was good. And I don't know about you, but I needed to hear it.
Amen.
I needed to hear it. Why? Because I am going to become a better version of her, a better version of myself. And these nuggets I need to hear. Mm-hmm. All right, Dr. Shalita, get you something to drink. Drink you a little bit. You've been giving it to us because we're getting ready to go into some questions. Now, I need y'all to pay attention because she is getting ready to give you some practical ways, some practical things that you can do. So, the first thing I want to talk about, Dr. Shalita, is staying motivated. Can you share with us some ways to stay motivated as we've already set intentional goals? I hope that everybody has already set your intentional goals. If you haven't, allow me to just say you're behind the 8 ball. It's January the 18th, right? And so we should have set those intentional goals, spent some time in prayer and fasting, and not just praying and fasting, but also some time for us to hear what God has to say to us.
Mhm.
So I would like for you to talk to us about staying motivated, about building habits that support our goals, about celebrating small wins along the journey. Can you talk to us about that?
Yes. So I'm going to give you 4 things that I want each of you to write down: rhythm, routine, boundary, and balance. 2 R's, 2 B's. Rhythm, routine, boundaries, and balance. If you focus on these 2 R's and these 2 B's, you will find that you will remain in a flow of motivation. Here is why I say that. Rhythm and routines have to be developed because of what it does for the mind. I have a daily routine that I do every single day. I have a morning routine and an evening routine that do not change. I have built guardrails and boundaries around these rhythms and routines. I do not allow, only emergencies can disrupt those rhythms and routines. Why? Because I have to maintain balance. If I become imbalanced, I'm going to lose motivation. Why? Because I'm going to be exhausted and tired. I'm going to lose handle of the time. I don't want to juggle what God has given to me. I want to hold it. We spend too much time juggling, and when we juggle something, it does not become a part of our being. So rhythm and routine, and we're going to talk about some specific things that can be in the rhythm and routine in just a moment. But rhythms and routine, it allows the brain and the body to anticipate what's going to happen every single morning. So for me, my body is in a rhythm. And when I wake, so the first thing I do, let me give you my morning routine. First thing I do when I wake up in the morning, I say, "Good morning, Holy Spirit." I pop in my AirPods and I listen to my Bible playing because I realize that I'm still waking up. I got the word of God washing over me. I'm listening to it. And when that is done, I then move into at least no less than 10 minutes of morning meditation. I'm connecting with my body. I'm honoring my body. I'm reciting those affirmations over myself. I am reshaping and visualizing how I see the day. And then from there, I actually sit down with the word of God to my left and my planner to my right. And I begin to journal and plan my day with intention. Now, I do a week, I plan for the entire week on Sunday evenings, but then every single day I plan and I commit my day to the Lord. And so in the evening, my evening routine is I sit down and I reflect on my day. I have a time of gratitude and prayer. Right? I do all of that, and I do a meditation before I go to sleep. And so I begin my day and end my day with guardrails that keep me balanced and keep my energy high, because I know that throughout the day, there are things that are happening. We're working, we're going, all of these voices, we're depleting ourselves, right? So those are just 2 examples. Now, when I wake up in the morning and I miss my time with the Lord, if I wake up in the morning and I miss meditation, guess what? My body's speaking to me. "Oh, we didn't meditate this morning." So then I have to find time to get it in, right? Because it has become such a part of my daily life and my body craves it now that my autonomic brain is looking for it. I don't even have to think about it. In the beginning, I wrote down my routine. I wrote down my morning routine and my evening routine, and I sat with that in front of me to make sure I didn't miss a step. Now it just flows. It flows so fluidly. Why? Because it has become a part of who I am. It will keep you balanced. You are pouring into yourself before you even step out into the world. The worst thing you can do is wake up out your bed, get dressed, and go into the world, and you have not talked to yourself, affirmed yourself, talked to the Lord. You have not equipped yourself or filled yourself, because the world will fill you if you're not careful. I want to be full before I get in the world, right? I want to have minimal capacity for the world to be able to pour into me, because I'm full of God's word. I'm full of affirmations. I'm full of energy. I'm full and clear on where I'm going. That will keep you motivated. Rhythm, routine, set boundaries. Put your phone on do not disturb. People can text me, but I don't look at text messages until 10 o'clock unless it's certain things. 10 o'clock. I don't start work till 10 o'clock. After 8 o'clock, unless it's something that's on my schedule, my phone's on do not disturb. Wow.
Absolutely. I got to stop you 1 minute.
Go ahead.
There are several pastors on here.
Mm-hmm.
Can you speak to that again? There are several pastors on here. I know. We got to understand that it's okay to respond to people.
Mm-hmm.
I used to be guilty of feeling like I had to answer my phone every time they call, or text back every time they say. Just a little bit more about that.
You have to have boundaries. You have to have boundaries. Now, here is the important part, especially when you're in a leadership position. Communicate those boundaries to those to whom God has entrusted you to lead. Let them know my phone, 8, 9 o'clock, it's on do not disturb. If I'm up and I'm moving around, I might respond, but have those boundaries. And know that you don't have to respond every time they message, because if you create that pattern, it's going to continue. So communicate the boundaries to them. Let them know that I typically am in my time of devotion, for me, from 6 to 9, and from 9 in the evening on, right? And so if it's an emergency, then here is how you get me in an emergency. Don't send me a text message if it's an emergency. Call me. And if you call me and I don't answer, leave me a voicemail. Because sometimes what people deem an emergency is not an emergency. I'll listen to the voicemail and I'll determine whether it needs an immediate response or whether it's a response for the next day, right? So we have to set these boundaries. Why? So that we can be balanced and healthy. Otherwise, you're going to pop off on somebody. You're going to pop off. You're going to pop off because you're irritated, you're agitated, and you're going to do it and not do it intentionally, because this part of the brain is on, not this part of the brain.
That's good. That's good. That's good. That's good. All right. So now I want to talk to you, ask questions for things that you do. What process do you follow when setting your own goals for the year?
I am a planner nerd. I intentionally catalog and calendar my lives, because setting intentions or goals is not a one-time process. So hear me when I say that my beginning of the year really begins in August. I come alive in fall. I love August. So that is when I'm really kind of beginning to plan for the normalized new year. But I set my intentions and goals by first reflecting on the year before, the quarters before. So I check in every week on how I did with my weekly goals. And every month I do an assessment and I pivot. Every quarter I go back and look at what I've accomplished in the quarter. Is it progressing me toward the goal? Have I found myself not accountable? Have I been distracted? So understand that when you're setting intentional goals, it's not just a one time a year thing. You should be reflecting daily, weekly, monthly, and quarterly, right? And when you do this, you need to frame this time of reflection not only with your voice, but we need the voice of God. So I will turn on my YouTube. I'll get me some good worship music going in the background, get me a little Ariel. I'll get me some coffee or tea. I pray, and then I sit down, and I do this every evening. I sit down with my journal. I talk to the Lord. What did I leave undone? Where do I need to move that in my calendar? How did I experience the day? So a bit of it is prefaced kind of in that process. But here's the other thing. My goals are attached to a word of the year.
Mm-hmm.
And that word of the year is by revelation. God gives me every single year my word of the year. Last year, my word started at thriving because I chose thrive. The Lord quickly revamped that and said, no, your word of the year is health. So last year, I focused on my mental, spiritual, emotional, financial health. I lost 30 pounds last year. I revamped my eating, paid off a bunch of debt. There's so many things. So now my word of the year this year is thriving because the Lord said, you ain't ready to thrive yet. You got to learn how to steward some things. We got more stewardship to do. Got to get healthy.
Oh, that's good. That was good. That was good. That was good. That was good. So, what do you recommend for the person who feels like they are stuck? They stuck. It's the beginning of the year, but they stuck already. What would you say to that person?
You're not stuck. The first thing I have to do is I have to speak to the condition that you find yourself in and shift your mindset. You are not stuck. Every day is a new day. It's new mercies, new grace, a new opportunity to begin again. So intend beginning today to chart the course of your life. Find you a planner that you love. Now, if I could speak to this for just a moment, because we have the neurotypical brain and we have the neurodivergent brain. Dr. Shay, what is that? So the neurotypical brain functions differently. It is more left-brained. It's going to be more analytical. You like lists and simplicity. So a certain kind of journal will cater to your needs. I have a neurodivergent brain, typically individuals who have maybe ADHD, ADD, are highly creative, brain moves a mile a minute, right? We require multiple ways to cater to our stimuli at the same time. So we are highly sensory individuals. I sense everything. We'll call it a HSP, a highly sensitive person. And so neurodivergent brains love a lot of different components to journaling. They like a little coloring page and a bunch of lists and a maybe a place to write scriptures and a little quote here and there. And I want to journal my food. So the neurotypical brain, my husband, who's very neurotypical, would look at this and be like, babe, that's too much. That's way too much, right? But for the neurodivergent brain, we're like, oh, I got like 6 pages here. I get to do all of this, right? Because it caters to your varying stimuli needs. So you have to find the tool that meets your specific need. And that is actually why I developed my own planner, because I have more planners. I've sat on panels, helped others create planners, and I realized that I was still Franken planning. And Franken planning is when you pull pieces from 5, 6, 7 planners and create your own. So then I decided I'm going to sit down and I'm going to create a planner that caters to my neurodivergent brain and release it monthly, which is what we began this year.
Yes, yes, yes. And let me just put this plug right here. Many of you all know that I felt the same way she did. Planners just didn't have what I needed in them. And I believe it was 5 years ago, I created my own planner as well. It was my plan to release one for 2025. Life happens. If you follow me, you know me well, you know I got a lot going on. And finally, I said, listen, you cannot do it all. Do what really, really matters this year. What did I do? I put a screeching halt to creating my planner and jumped on board, got my sister's planner, and baby, when I tell you it is the bomb.com, I mean, it has so much in it. Am I taking the time to do it? I am. I love that it's digital. And I have been doing it. And I'm going to ask Dr. Shalita if you can put a link, or somebody can put a link where they can check that out as we continue with our questions. But I do want to make sure that we put that there. So the next question I want to ask you, you talked about it a little bit, accountability, but I want to talk about what role does accountability play in achieving personal or professional goals?
So we need validators. Hear me when I say that, because oftentimes we can become stagnant. Let's just be honest. Life has a way of lifing. Sometimes we get stuck in our own thoughts. We have a few bad days and we need an encouraging word. We do. The goal is to be intentional about those who have the power and the place or the position to validate you. And these are individuals that God brings into your life that help you when you find yourself stuck. Now, you have to be the one to realize you're stuck. But if you have a therapist, a mentor, a pastor, a good girlfriend or guy friend, an accountability partner, a spouse, you can have layers of accountability around you. But these are individuals who know you well enough to know that sometimes what you say might be a little off from what you're doing, and they are checking in. These are individuals who have their own relationship with the Lord, that the Lord can whisper in Pastor Sandara, Coach Sandara's ear, and she'll sometimes send me a text message, say, all right, my sister, how things going? I haven't seen anything lately. These are individuals that check in to make sure that you're okay. I've been recently appointed to St. Paul and Ocala, beautiful, blessed group of anointed, what I like to call partners with me in ministry. And Reverend Harrison, we call her Pastor A, Reverend A. She is one that'll send me a text message. She sent me one last night.
She gonna do it.
And she said, did you get some rest? And I said, rest, ... not quite. And she said, all right, now you need to go to bed early because she said, we need a tried word, not a tired word. I fell out laughing. And I said, okay, so what I do, I was working on getting my library together. I went in, my husband made me a cup of coffee. I took me a shower, sat down in that bed, and next thing I know, right? And so it prepared me for this one. So we need accountability. Someone who loves us enough and is invested enough in us, in our health, not our unhealth. Because now some people will come around you to give you so much to do that you can't do what God is calling you to do. Be careful with those individuals. They always got a problem, always need you to do something.
Come on.
And I tell them, I'm not the savior.
Mm-mm.
My name's Shalita.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Right? So
Mm-hmm.
we do need accountability. So if you do not have accountability, you need it. It is necessary because you need someone to give you a validating word, to motivate and encourage you. Right? You need it. You know, we will run around here and we'll buy a Louis Vuitton belt. Now I'm not knocking. I got me some Louis Vuitton belts, right? We will buy things that in a year or so will be tore up, right? We will go to work hard, buy these material things, but then we have a difficult time wanting to pay a coach rate.
Investing in ourselves. You got that right. You got that right.
We have a difficult time wanting to go to therapy. And I say in those spaces, what enters into your life is so transformative that you can't put a price tag on it. But people, I can't afford to go to therapy. You can't afford not to go to therapy. I can't afford to go to a coach. But then you've been working on this same project for 15 years. You could have built it, made it manifest, and paid your coach and yourself 10 times, but you can't afford a coach.
My. Woo, you said something right there. And I'm going to tell you something. God convicted me late last year and told me to stop discounting myself to please people. If people really want what you got, they're going to pay for it.
Yes.
And what he told me is that if they're not willing to pay for it, then they're not the people for you. God had to deliver me from that thing, because here's the thing. When you are serving in a pastor role, I'm speaking pastor role, and some of you, the other pastors may be watching, right? We feel like we do things for free. Come on now.
Right.
We serve the people. We lead the people. And we have a guilt for charging people.
Right.
God had to deliver me from that thing.
Right.
And he had to get me to see that coaching and pastoring, two different umbrellas.
Right.
You pastor the people at Mount Zion African Methodist Episcopal Church in Daytona Beach. If they're not a member there, you don't pastor them. Right. Stop giving away your value, your wisdom.
Yes.
To people that you don't shepherd.
Right.
And that was somebody else. That was for somebody else. God has delivered me from it, because baby, if they ain't willing to pay the coins, then they're not for me.
Right.
They can go to somebody else that is willing, that ain't got there yet, that will continue to pour into them. Yep. Right? Oh, okay. I knew that was for some other pastors. I knew it was. That's why I had to stop and pause it right there. And what the Lord is saying to us in this season is that stop it, because you don't have to do it. Yep. That is why you will see when I am in the role of Pastor Sandara, I'm in that role. But when I am in the role as Coach Sandara, that means someone has hired me. Someone has gotten me for me to consult them, lead them, guide them, and charge them. You can't tap into to all of my knowledge and my wisdom for free.
Absolutely. Absolutely. God is calling us to invest in this season. And what comes to mind for me, thank you, Holy Spirit, is the parable of the talents, right? You know, looking at it from a different perspective when we think about investment. If an individual won't invest in themselves to gain access to the knowledge and wisdom that is necessary to transform their mind, body, spirit, soul, life, then they're not going to invest in the process. And why would God bless you with X if you're not going to steward it, right? Whatever it is you're praying for, why would God bless you with it if you're going to squander it, if you're not going to take it and invest it? So when we think about the parable of the talents, you know, they were each given according to their ability, but they had to do something with it. And what did they do? They multiplied it. So I'm taking my gift as a therapist, I'm taking my gift as a coach, and I am investing it to those who are ready to invest in themselves.
My.
And the issue is, a lot of times our phones will ring and people will call. And here is what gets me every single time. I don't mind sharing wisdom, but don't call me and ask me for wisdom and you're not going to apply it. And then you're going to call me next week with the same problem. And the week after that, the same problem. After a while, I'm going to stop responding or answering your call when it comes to that particular thing, because now you've sucked up 7 hours of my life. I could have been watching a movie with my husband. I could have been doing something with my baby. I could have been reading a book. I could have been on somebody's beach, whatever. I could have been in the secret place with God, and you sucked up 7 or 8 hours of my time because you want to rehearse something and you're not ready to let it go. If you're not ready to let it go, then you don't need me. You don't need me if you're not ready to go. You can talk to yourself about it over and over again. But investment is where it is this year. Invest your money. Now, savings account, what? I'm not putting no money in no savings account to make 30 cents a month. No, I'm investing it so that I can make some dividends, right? I'm taking what God has given me. So we got to get comfortable, not only as leaders in how we invest, because we have to give an account for that, but we also have to teach the people. You need to invest in yourself. Go work, but use that to invest in your soul and in your spirit.
Yes. Invest where you want to go and grow. You said something right there. All right. Here is our last question. How has personal growth and goal setting changed your perspective on life or success?
If I have to be honest, it has, and that's just a phrase that I say. It's almost like a filler phrase for me when I say if I have to be honest, because I do seek to be honest in everything that I do. It has cultivated such a deep love for myself. When I tell you I love me, and that's something I had to learn. And I learned that from embracing God's love for me. There are days when I look at myself in the mirror and I will say, you know what? We're not going to eat that today. We love ourselves too much. We're not going to respond to that because I love myself too much, right? It's almost as if the depth of love that God has for me, I now have for myself. And that has made me intentional about everything that I do. I spent a lot of my life doing, going, because somebody said you good at this. Somebody said, daddy said, mama said, this was said, that one said. I stopped because you know what? About 4 years ago, maybe even 5 years ago, I had my first episode with trigeminal neuralgia. And that impacted my life so much because it is a neurological pain that is in the face and the mouth. So a lot of people know about Bell's palsy, the facial paralysis, where there's another nerve in the face. It's called the trigeminal nerve. And what happens is it will cause your teeth to become cold as ice, but your gums to be on fire. And it is the pain, according to research, and even according to my neurologist, is the most intense pain known to humankind.
Wow.
I would have 10 babies back to back to back before I experienced that pain.
Wow.
And it was my body speaking to me, and my body was saying, please stop. Please stop. We're hurting. We're going too much. We're doing too much. And I had to sit in that space and be like, wow, I'm hurting myself. For who? Because right now, sitting in this pain, who's here? My husband couldn't help me. All he could do was try to cook. I couldn't eat. I couldn't talk. I mean, I could talk, but not, I would have the pain. And everything that I do, everything that God has called me to do is connected to my mouth. I preach, I teach, I do therapy. It's connected to my mouth. And so that stopped me. And I said, you know what? I love me too much. I'm looking at the 70-year-old Shalita and the 80-year-old Shalita. We're going to steward now to make sure she's taken care of. And so then that pivoted how I live life. And I'm intentional. If I have a dream or a thought, I take it to God and say, Lord, is this what you have me to do? If the Lord gives me a yes, or I feel, even if the Lord doesn't answer and I feel good about it in my spirit, I move forward and I create a plan for those things, because everything doesn't have to be done right now. Don't let impulsivity and fear make you feel like if I don't do it right now, it's not going to get done. I create a plan to accomplish it. And I accomplish that using life-honoring rhythms. People say, how do you juggle all that you do? I don't juggle anything. I handle it. I handle it by creating an intentional plan daily on how to steward it. But most importantly, stewarding my relationship with God, stewarding my body, and then stewarding my family. And then from that, stewarding everything else.
That's good. That's good. That's good. That's good. That's good. Come on, those of you who are still watching, I need you to give some hearts. This has been so good. Listen, if you have any questions that you want to type in the chat that you would like for Dr. Shay to respond to, you have the opportunity to do that as well. I hope that you have gleaned something from this first Her Peace of Mind talk show of 2025. I hope that it has been beneficial. I know for a fact that it has helped. I know that it has helped. Like I said, she might have walked on some toes, but you got to have that in. You got to have that. Sometimes you need that to help get you in check, right? And now we can move forward and implement those intentional goals for our growth. That is what we must do. We got to stop saying that we're going to do this stuff, and we never take the time to create a plan. We just go from day to day. We got to stop that. It starts with a plan. You got to create a plan, and not just create the plan, but you must stick to the plan. Why create the plan if you're not going to stick to it?
Right.
Why create the plan? Why waste your time? We got to stop setting these New Year's resolutions that we drop before January is over. No, we got to set intentional goals that we will work at on a daily basis. And to that person who feels like you are too busy, you heard Dr. Shay talk about what she does. She has a rhythm in the morning. She has a rhythm at night. Some of you were thinking in your head, oh, wow, I don't have time for that. That's why you cannot get where you're trying to go. You have to make the time. You have to put the time in your schedule. Some of you are already worn out looking at or even thinking thinking about what it is that you have to do. So listen, this is going to stay up. It's going to stay here on my page, her page, and also on the YouTube. Come back to it when you feel like you can't be intentional or you cannot stay with what you have put in place. And so I see that we have a question in the chat, and that is from the Reverend Dr. Kenya Williams. She says, Dr. Mira, can you speak more of how to make goals in the midst of transition? At times, it's challenging to do so in the midst of uncertainty.
Okay. Your goals should not be subject to circumstances. Your goals are your goals. Now, we do, Dr. Kenya, have to embrace the fact that we are in transition, which means we may have to look at those goals and amend our time frames of accomplishment. We may have to look at our objectives. We may have to do a little bit of pivoting. And we may then have to go back and say, I need to have some short-term goals and some long-term goals. But if we're not careful, transition and circumstances will become a distractor in an attempt to derail your goals. So you sit down with those goals and you say, okay, which goals are subject to these transitions in my life? And how do I want to create a plan around that? Which ones should not be subject? Thinking about, 1-year plans, 5-year plans, 10-year plans should not be subject to the circumstances, and stay committed to those. But you may have to readjust your time frames, your objectives, but do not become derailed in the completion or to achieving the goals, because a lot of times that's exactly what the enemy loves to use is circumstances to distract or derail us from achieving. And then the next thing you know, you look back and a year has passed, and it is because, let's be honest, work can sometimes be a huge distraction because we got all of this chaos. Don't let chaos determine your life. Your life is your life. You plan it. God has given you the power. And so look at those goals, review those goals, create a plan in the midst of transition. Embrace the transition. Give yourself grace in the transition. Move those time frames if you need to. But the goal stays.
That's good. That's good. That's good. Thank you for answering that question, Dr. Shalita. I don't see any more questions in the chat. Listen, she was welcome to answer any of the questions. You might be afraid to answer the questions. Here's what we're not going to do, though. She already told you that she has boundaries. She was willing to answer the questions here. So here's what we're not going to do. We're not going to inbox her and try to ask her these questions. Why? Because she has boundaries. Boundaries. So you may have been afraid to answer your question, but this was a good space and time to do it on today. So I hope that you received what you needed on today by joining us for this very first Her Peace of Mind talk show in 2025. I know that something that she said has pricked you, hit you, and stepped on you. But it was necessary because we are looking forward to being a better version of ourselves, of herself. Amen. Now, allow me to say that it does not have to end here. Doesn't have to end here. Those of you who have not chose to make the investment to join me for my upcoming 7-day reset challenge, which is taking place January the 20th through the 27th. Yes, it's an investment. The investment is only $7. That is $1 per day. Let me tell you that there is nothing under the sun that you can buy anymore for $7. Nothing that you can buy for $1 a day. We talked about investing. You got to be or stop being afraid to invest for where you want to go and where you want to grow. Now, this will be the only opportunity that you will be able to connect with me at this low price. I invite you to join me in this space. It is beginning next Monday night at 7:00 p.m. Some of you have already invested. Thank you. For those of you who did not share the live because you didn't know what it was going to be about, you didn't know what we was going to say, you just want to keep it to yourself, share the live so that it could bless somebody else.
Amen.
There are others who need to hear this wisdom, others outside of the friends or contacts that Dr. Shalita and I have. Bless somebody else. If you watched it on YouTube, you can share it in a text message. You can share it in an email. All of the ways. Don't keep it to yourself. Again, I need you all to say thank you. Thank you to Dr. Shalita for coming on and sharing. I want to thank you, my sister. Thank you for taking time, making the time to be with me today as I come back. Somebody say come back.
Come back.
I'm coming back, and I am coming back strong. And please know that this will not be the last time for Dr. Shalita to be here with me. Dr. Shalita, did you want to share any of your information, any other links, or are we good?
I think we are good. You are more than welcome to visit my website, www.theheartcenteredjourney.com. I'll make sure to pop that in. And you can go there. I post blogs. There's videos on my YouTube page. There are some videos. There'll be some upcoming events that I will be posting soon. You can connect with me on social media at The Heart Centered Journey as well. And my final words for today, and thank you so much, my sister, for allowing me to spend this time with you this morning on this platform, is when you leave your house today, I want you to pay attention to the grass. Grass can teach us a lesson about growth and about life. Have you ever tried to pull grass out of places where it grows and it's not supposed to be there? Watch grass. Grass will grow through concrete. Grass will grow through your steps. Grass will grow through places, and you will be like, how in the world did grass get in this space? And we will become as persistent, if we will become as faithful as grass, there is nothing that we will never be able to achieve. So today, you have been given a gift. And that divine gift is the gift of choice. Today, choose to be intentional about the life that you have been blessed to live. Thank you so much, my sister. Thank you all for joining us.
Thank you so much. And again, thank you to those of you who joined us today. And you can stay connected to me by staying connected with me on Facebook, on Instagram. If you are not on my email list, I invite you to join my email list, and you may visit my website at www.Sandara.Williams and look forward to all that we will do today with her peace. We are looking forward to seeing many of you be a better version of yourselves. Thanks for joining us today, and make it a great day. Take care. Reset. Her peace.